Behind me is my NC Miata with the power retractable hardtop. I have plasti dipped the hardtop a few weeks back. Everything turns out alright and I have decided to plasti dip the rest of the car. So before I do that, I want to find out what areas I need to be masking, what areas I need to peel and wedge, because I really only have one shot at it and I don't want to be figuring out or troubleshooting when I'm actually doing the real thing. So today's purpose is to go through those areas and then do some experiments on them to make sure when I'm actually doing the real thing, the whole thing will go smooth. Again, I don't know if I'm doing this thing correctly, but I'm just sharing with you my experience doing this project. So here we go. This is the front badge. The badge right now is being plasti dipped. I will be plasti dipping the entire car, so the only way for me to keep the badge in black color is by removing it. The only way to remove this badge is actually to take the front bumper off, which I will do. I know that there are two pins back there with some locking nuts, so I have to get to the back of the bumper, remove the badge. This should be simple. The fog light does have some gaps around it. The area that I think is going to be an issue is right up here. Along this edge, you can see it's got a pretty nice gap. But right up here, for those who have taken out the front bumper and the fog lamp housing before, you know there are actually a couple of screws, and this is one of the areas. On the back, there's actually a screw. The problem is I don't know if I'm going to get a clean peel in this area. So what I'm going to be doing today is this. I mask off this specific area of the bumper, and I also mask off the fog lamp, the actual fog lamp, and this what do you call it, this little recess area. So I will be plasti dipping this whole area and then see if I can actually peel off the plasti dip off the fog lamp housing without peeling off the plasti dip on the bumper. If I can do it, then I'll keep the masking method the same when I do the whole car. This is the front grille area. Today I will not be testing this area because I have actually done this before. There's a gap right here. I'll be putting masking tape to cover all the honeycombs all the way down to this lip. I know once I plasti dip this whole area, I can peel off whatever that's on the grille without peeling off what's on the bumper. Coming up here though, you can kind of see that it gets pretty tight right around here. But then all of you know there's actually a cover piece. There's actually a cover piece that goes around here. So I'm not overly concerned even if this has to be peel and wet or if it doesn't separate, because if it does not separate, I can always take a knife here and trim it off carefully, and then once this goes on, you really cannot see what I've done back there. Let's talk about the front bumper and the hood, specifically this black trim piece right here. So this piece runs down the entire edge. The easy option is to just plasti dip over this, and I just think it will look odd. So I'm going to deploy the same strategy that I used when I did my hardtop, and it is to use laminate. Stick it in there, pull it back, tape it down, and then I'll create this gap. So after I'm done, I will be able to keep this trim piece black. The problem doing this method is I have to leave the hood just a little open. It's because if I slam the hood shut, this is what's going to happen to that piece of transparency. It gets wrinkled. So I will no longer be able to keep the gap there. So this is the strategy. I hope it will work. I do not want to test this today because that means I have to mask the entire engine bay. But the gap there is pretty decent. I'm pretty sure it'll work, but it will just take a little bit of time to mask this up. I've not come across any videos online where they say you can still remove your front bumper after you have dipped your car. And I like to find out if that's possible. Not that I'm looking forward to remove my front bumper for whatever reason, but I do work on my car, so it would be nice after I dip my car if I do need to remove my front bumper for whatever reason, and I'll be able to do so. What I'm going to do, so this is the front bumper, and this is the front fender. For those who have removed their front bumpers before on their NC, you know that there are two screws and then there's one guide pin. I don't remember which way is which, but I'm pretty sure there are two screws and then you have two nuts coming back on the other side and tighten this down. So this would be the tightest area. I want to plastic dip this whole place, and if I will be able to peel the plastic dip on this side without peeling the dip on the other side, that means there might be a chance that I will be able to remove my front bumper after the whole car is dipped. Now, this is not critical, but it's just something interesting that I want to find out. Here I am looking at the front fender wheel well. This is the front bumper and this is the fender liner. Nothing really to talk about on this side, but if you come around to the back side, this side is slightly a little different story because the fender liner actually covers part of the body panel. I'm not going to be testing here today. This is pretty straightforward. I will just pop these out and then push the fender liner back. So this will expose this body color trim piece down here, and I'll be plastic dipping over this area. Looking at the third brake light. Now, the third brake light has its own cover, which is matched to the body color. The question I have is, on the actual light itself, will I be able to plastic dip over this entire light and then peel off just the light itself? If I move the camera closer, you can see that there is an edge to where the cover meets the light. But this edge, this is why I will do an experiment on this. I'm not sure if the plastic dip will separate right here. This might be one of the areas that I have to peel and wet when I do the actual car. The bottom actually has a nice gap to it. So the bottom I'm not concerned, but it's only this top lip right here. What I have here is the trunk with this spoiler. This spoiler is a stick-on spoiler, so there's no screws below it. It's just stick onto the trunk lip with double-sided tape. And my question is if I can keep my spoiler black. So the easy way would be plastic dipping over this entire surface and then peel off the plastic dip from the spoiler. And I don't want to find out later on that I cannot do that. So for me to test this out, I mask off one section of it. So I'll be spraying plastic dip over this area, and I'll try to peel the plastic dip off the spoiler to see if it will separate from this edge and this edge. I am looking at the rear bumper. So this is body colored up to here. This piece here is black plastic. It is very likely that I will have to mask this off and peel it when it is wet, because again there is an edge but there's absolutely no gap. I want to find out if I can do it the easy way. So what I'm going to do, Again, I mask off a square right here. I'll be plastic dipping over this entire area, and I'll try to peel the plastic dip off the black plastic to see if it will peel off the plastic dip from the bumper at the same time. If it doesn't, life is much better. If it's peeling together, that means this is going to be one of the areas that when I spray the final coat, I have to come to here when it is still wet and then peel off the masking tape right away. I will not be doing any testing on this today because the only way to deal with this is to remove the antenna. There's a seal right here that is fully attached and sealed to the rear quarter panel so that water won't get in. I'm not going to attempt to mask this off. I'm just going to take apart the interior pieces, remove the antenna so that I'll see the hole. I'll plastic dip over this. After I'm done, then I'll reinstall the antenna. Rear view mirror housing. I thought about masking this, but again, I don't think I can get a clean line. It's being held on by 2 screws, and the screw looks like this. So there's 1 screw here, and then I do not want to rotate the mirror right now, but there's another screw right here. So once you undo those two screws, this mirror housing basically pops out. I will take both screws out and then put a washer behind the screw, and then just kind of don't tighten it all the way back in, but tighten it halfway so that I will keep a gap between the body panel and the mirror housing as I plastic dip this. So this is what it looks like when it's tight. This is what it looks like when it's loosened. I can't just leave it loosened a little bit because when the mirror is hanging, if you let it go, the bottom is still touching the body panel. Or I can attempt to mask this and then pull the mirror housing kind of upward to keep it in place. But I think it is easier just to put a washer behind it so that when I tighten this back down, there's a gap. I'm not going to do this today. This should be fairly straightforward. This black mirror is actually previously plastic dipped, and I like to keep the black look, so I have to cover all this up. Lastly is my door handle. This door handle has also been plastic dipped, and I like to keep it black after I have done the whole car. There are 2 reasons. One, I think black looks better than a body match door handle. Second, it is because this door handle receives a lot of wear and tear. So I was thinking, in the case if I do rip the plastic dip off the door handle, if it is black, I can just use rattle can to touch it up. But then if it is my main color, that means I have to take out my spray gun and everything to touch it up. That would be kind of a pain. The problem, of course, again, is the same. If you just want to plastic dip this door handle, it was quite simple. You mask off this area, you spray over the door panel, you try to spray the backside. Once you're done, you peel off what's on the body panel, and then you're left with the plastic dip on the door handle. The issue now is I cannot do that because I'm doing my whole body color, and this is also plastic dip, so they will bond. So I will have to mask this door handle off. The gap is there. On this side is a little tighter. So today I will try to mask this off while I plastic dip the rest to see if I can keep the door handles black without damaging the plastic dip that is already on it. This is what the door handle looks like after I carefully masked it. I did not rush this. I did this as if I'm doing the real thing. On the left, what I did was I slide a piece of masking tape behind, and then I use a squeegee to make sure it sticks, and then I glide over it. So on the left, the gap is pretty decent. I think on the left will be okay. On the right, even though, well, we all know there's a gap here because I plastic dipped this, so I was able to peel off the dip on the body panel but not off the door handle. But when you try to mask this, I do not know. Now again, I am not trying to peel this when it is wet. I'm just trying to cover up. The irony here is I'm actually masking plastic dip off, not body panel. So I'm trying to cover up the door handle's plastic dip. So when I spray this, when it's dry, I can remove the tape, and then I'll be left with a black plastic dip door panel. I will find out real soon if this works or not. The bottom side is quite tight as well. Actually, the bottom side is better than the top side. And I have to be careful when I remove these plastic, these masking tape as well, because I tuck them into the back, and the plastic dip on the back is pretty weak. So when I pull this tape, there is a likelihood that I'll be pulling the dip off as well. Well, this is why I'm doing this today. I mean, if I have to redo the door handle right now, great, doesn't hurt my feelings. But I definitely want to find out if I can keep this black, or do I have to spray this down the same color as the rest of the car. One last thing that I noticed again is all this seal that are related to the, I don't know if it applies to the soft top, but there is a rubber seal right here. You can see right here it actually touches the body panel, but then it kind of changes direction on you again, and then the seal drops down. Right here is actually body color. Right here is your seal. So I'm not going to test this today. I'll use my old strategy of sticking a piece of transparency here and then pull this back. And when I spray, I should get this to the same as the body panel as well. You can see the seal is here, but then it's body color on this side. The rest here actually has a nice gap to it, so I'm not concerned much. So I'm going to get started to spray all the different parts, see how they turn out. I'm going to use white because I think it's going to show up much better if I'm making any mistakes. This is the fog lamp housing, first coat. I did not wash the car or anything like that too, because I think it's irrelevant for these experiments. I am doing the test between the front bumper and the front fender. The test here again is to see if they will separate from one another, if I can remove the bumper and whatnot. Again, don't really care how I lay the coat out today because this is just an experiment. This is the door handle, first coat. This is the third braking light, first coat. This is my lip spoiler that is on the trunk, first coat. Again, this is to test if I can peel the plastic dip off the spoiler without peeling the plastic dip on the trunk. This is the rear bumper and the rear valence, the black plastic first coat. This is to see if I can peel the plastic dip off the black plastic without peeling the plastic dip off the rear bumper. So I have sprayed 6 coats on each of those areas. So now I'm going to try to remove each and every one of them and see what happens. Overall, I will be able to do this without peel when wet, but there are a couple drawbacks. You can see there is a strip of plastic dip left on the fog lamp housing right around this corner. It kind of rolls back, and I'm going to try to remove this right now. It does come off. Now when I try to rub it off, I wasn't trying to be extremely careful with the way I remove the dip. I would probably, on the real thing, I'll probably use like a toothpick so that when I tuck my finger in here, I don't accidentally damage the plastic dip on the body panel. But this definitely don't need to be peeled and wet. The second issue is right here. You can see in this recess area, I end up having some plastic dip. It was just difficult to mask across here, taping it down. Now again, this is not the end of the world. I'm sure a little toothpick and then a little time, you see I can scrub this off already. I'm sure I can get all these out because plastic dip doesn't stick well to the plastic to begin with. So overall, the conclusion here is I can do this without peel when wet. So let's move on to the next area. The next area is between the front bumper and the front fender. If I can remove the dip on this side, that means the front bumper can be detached from the fender, and therefore I should be able to remove the bumper when I want to after I dip the car. So let's see what happens here. Well, as you can see, I can remove the dip from the fender side without removing the dip on the bumper side. So definitely it's a possibility. After you dip the car, if you want to remove the bumper, it is possible. Now I did not continue on and peel to here because this masking tape is bridging the plastic dip across. Well, I guess for experimental purpose, I can try that and see what happens. Never mind, it's separate, so I can, well, probably still don't want to do it too often, but again, you can remove the front bumper without destroying your dip. On to the next. This is the third braking light. The idea here is to remove the dip from the light without removing the dip from this cover piece right here. Nope. So that does not work. I will have to peel when wet. But since I have this here right now, I'm going to try an experiment. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of works, but it's not consistent. Here I have to cut pretty good. And then here, when I run the knife through, it kind of folds up the dip a little bit. And then I miss my cut right here. Okay, so the third brake light is going to be peel when wet, no question. Yeah, that wasn't what I was hoping for. Moving on to the next. We are looking at the trunk and the black spoiler. Again, here is, I want to keep the spoiler black. Let's see if it separates from the trunk. Okay, so on this side it does. Let's move on to the other side. Coming to the back, this is the trunk, this is the spoiler. Pretty obvious here. Okay, so the spoiler is easy. Just spray over it and then peel it off. Then my spoiler turns black again. You are looking at the rear bumper. This is supposed to be body color. This is supposed to be black plastic. The hope here is to be able to peel this off without peeling this off. Oh wow, surprise! Wow! I don't need to mask this. I wasn't... Wow! And it gives me a clean line. Wow! This is the door handle. The idea here is the door handle is already plasticked in black. Let's just say the white is my new plastic color. I mask this off. I should be able to just pull the masking tape off and the door handle should come out black. Let's see if that's the case. Okay, as you can see, when I lift the yellow masking tape, it did raise the edge on the color side a little bit. And I am pulling the black plastic dip out. The bottom side is okay because the gap is much bigger. Not impressed. And here, somehow I did not mask it correctly. Now I have white plastic dip on top of black plastic dip. And of course, it wouldn't rub off because they are both plastic dip. Let's see how I do on this side. Again, pulling the black plastic dip off the door handle from the back. This is definitely not ideal. The left side of the door handle is much easier to manage. Now, of course, this is the cheap version of the plastic dip, not the performance series. During the process, I still kind of rubbed out the new dip a little bit, but it does give me a nice smooth edge. And even the bottom side looks good. Hopefully you can see better. So the edges are good on the left side. The bottom of the right side of the handle is okay. Even around. So on this edge, I started peeling some of the old dip out. But on the top, doesn't look good. All that white is peeling off. That's going to be my new color. So if that peels off, I think that would mean I have two options. One would be to take this black plastic dip off and spray it the same as the body color, or two, remove the door handle. So I'm done with the experiments. Very glad that I did this. Few surprises. Well, first, the fog lamp housing. I do not need to peel that when it's wet. I can just spray over the entire housing and then peel it off later. Of course, it's got some recess areas, but nothing a toothpick or something that couldn't take care of removing the little bit of overspray. So the fog lamp housing is easy. The bumper and the fender, they do separate. Will I want to be removing my front bumper very often? No. But I guess if I have to, it is possible. The third brake light. So I have to mask off the LED section off from the cover of the third brake light. It will not peel off by itself. So that's going to be peel when wet. I am going to take a look at the manual to see if I can actually remove the LED from the housing, or at least pop it out a little bit. If I can do that, that would be great. The rear spoiler is easy. I can spray over the spoiler. The dip on the spoiler can peel right off without interfering what's on the trunk. The rear bumper and the rear valence, the black plastic, was a surprise. There was actually no gap, but I guess due to the material difference, it separates with a very clean line, so I do not need to peel that when it is wet, which is awesome. Now, what's not so awesome is the door handle. So I want to keep the door handles black with the plastic dip. I try to mask the door handle while spraying the body. When I undo the masking, it was not so pretty. I have not decided what to do. There are two options. One, of course, is to peel the black plastic dip off. Just do it the same color as the rest of the body. Two, I'm going to remove the door handle when I plastic dip the car. I think I'm going to go for removing the door handle because I do like the black door handle look. And I really want to keep it black because again, it's a very high wear area. If I rub the black plastic dip off, hey, mask the rest of the car, spray a little black plastic dip on it, call it a day. It's going to be a perfect match. Versus if it's matching to the body color, then I have to take the spray gun out and whatnot to do a bunch of things more. So this is it. I hope you find it useful. I will be spraying my car probably in a couple of weeks time. So until then, I'm going to do a little more thinking and see if I need to test someplace else or come up with some better ideas. Thank you for watching.